Hey everybody out there. Hope y'all are doing good today. I have got something good for you today. Probably one of the greatest things I ever learned about bass fishing right here, and really about just everything. How hunting, fishing. This right here I'm fixing to share with you is probably the greatest thing ever. So, a long time ago, I read an article that Gary Klein had put out there. Get this stick put away. And it was super important. And it was probably one of the most important things I ever learned. Now, I understood what these things were, but I had never heard it put in the form that he put it in. And these two things, when you understand them, and then you separate them from each other, and then use them in conjunction with each other, is the most important thing in bass fishing that you may ever need to know. So, those two things, structure and cover. I see a lot of guys, and I'm talking about really big name pros and people sharing on videos that seem to mix up these two terms. They blend structure and cover together, and they're really two separate things. And once you learn to break them apart from each other and use them the right way, in my opinion, I ain't really saying them guys are wrong. I just think you need to really think about these two things as two separate things and then work them in conjunction with each other. So, structure is the shape of the earth, and that's where your topo maps come in. So all these little lines on here, they show you the shape of the earth. That's the shape of the land, the configuration of valleys and hills, and just how it flows, whether it's flat and smooth land like river bottoms, or if you go out east, the lakes are big and flat out there. You can kind of look around lots of times, and I pay a lot of attention when I'm driving the lakes to the changes in the structure, the land, the earth. I don't pay attention to the cover a lot. I pay attention to the structure of the land and how it flows and what it looks like. It's really important to understand what the land around your lake looks like, because it probably looks a lot like that going underneath the surface of the water. But that's the structure. So the actual shape, a flat, a break, a bench as you're going down a hillside, that is structure. Now, cover, on the other hand, is a little more diversified. There's many different things, and it could be timber that was left when the lake was flooded. It could be anything that's washed into a river that's stuck onto the structure. It could be rocks, boulders, the clippy edges that go off of a bluff line, brush piles, old house foundations. Anything that is attached to the structure is cover. Boat docks, that's cover. Anything attached to the structure, I call cover. Now, once you just break these two down in whatever body of water you go to, and let's just say you're going to Grand Lake in Oklahoma, and you study your map and you understand, and now you got all these boat docks everywhere. Those are cover on, let's say you're on a big bay and it's flat. So you got all these flats, and then you got cover on the flat, and you got a boat dock. And then under that boat dock, you have a brush pile. How fish use that dock and that brush pile is based on the structure. So if close to one of those boat docks, maybe there's a little old valley that runs in there, a ditch, and it comes close, and that's got some deep water in front of it. You have a brush pile on the end of that dock, and then you have a shallow flat on the upper side of that dock. These fish now have a pathway to go from deep water to shallow water, whether it's a place to spawn or feed or anything like that, and they have a piece of brush in between to hang out on. And then they can use the dock and everything else. The cover is what will dictate how they position at certain times of the year. Maybe in the winter, they'll want to hang out on the deeper side of that boat dock, off the edge of that brush where it gets deeper. Maybe in the pre-spawn, they're going to want to be right up behind that dock in the shallows looking to spawn. And then anywhere in between based on different times of the years and the season and what they're feeding on. So say a big flat and it has a ditch running through it that drops off in the main channel, and right on the point of where all that comes together, the shape of the land, the structure, there's one stump. That stump is going to give a fish a place to position, to feed, to feel secure between his feeding area up on the flat and the security of that deep water off the other side. That will now become his prime zone to hang out, to wait back and forth, or when there's lots of boat traffic or things going on, pressure, he'll just ease off back to that stump. When he's comfortable and there's shad up on that flat, he'll go up there and feed, then he'll come back to that stump or drop off into that ledge if he's spooked. Once you understand all that, now you can use that one old stump to go, right there's where I can catch him. He's there using that, and you can learn how to base your cast, your presentations, what bait you're going to use based on the type of cover. You know, if that was a pile of rocks on that point, you'd probably want to pick out your old football jig or a deep diving crankbait. If it's a super thick brush pile or something, you'd probably want to go with something like a Texas rig worm. The cover will dictate the bait you use. The structure will depend on, you know, how the fish use it. The cover, how they're going to position on it. It all works together, but they're two separate things. It's vitally important to keep those that way and think of them in that form. It's been one of the greatest things I've ever learned in my life. It doesn't matter if you're a shallow water guy like myself and fishing ultra shallow. The shape of the land, a structure change from 1 foot of water to 1.5 feet of water in 2 feet of water is a big deal. That's a structure change, and cover on that little 6-inch drop will make a key spot. So you have to think about, and so what I'm saying is, even as a shallow water angler, you need to be just as concerned with structure and cover as you are if you're a deep water angler that's out in the lake fishing deep, structure fishing. That's why we call it structure fishing. You're fishing out on the structure. But I believe all fishing structure fishing and using cover as dictating how we fish said structure. So even if you're live scoping, and you know, a lot of people say, oh, it's just a random out there in the middle of nowhere. If you'll use what I'm telling you, study your map, study what kind of cover's there, using that new technology to know exactly how them fish are going to position, I promise you, it will help you in any style of fishing that you're doing 100%. It will make you a much better angler. It'll make you a much more efficient angler. And it'll make you just a happier angler, because you're probably going to catch a lot more fish. And you're going to have an understanding of why you're fishing somewhere, the reasoning behind why you should do it, why the fish should be there. And that makes fishing much more enjoyable sometimes. I hope that helps you some. Get out your old map, study it up a little bit. Study every kind of cover that's available on said water that you're fishing. It will make you a better fisherman, and we'll catch you next time.